This is Standard 6 Bible Knowledge, and in this part, the subject Bible Knowledge, we all know Bible Knowledge is a very good subject, and we have been learning this subject. And now in Standard 6 is a continuation of what happened or what we know in Standard 5. So we are continuing with the Standard 6 work. So I am your teacher, W. MALAWI. Now we are going to start this topic which says miracles in the desert written. So we are going to look at the miracles in the desert. We know we have ever heard about these things, or about the miracles of the Israelites, what God did about them in the wilderness. So we're going to look at this one. So we are saying God performed miracles in the desert in order to provide for the Hebrews guidance, protection, and daily needs. So God, He performed all those miracles in order to guide them, to protect them, and also to provide them with their daily needs, knowing that it was God who guided those Hebrews from Egypt to Canaan. So in the desert, He was there to provide for their needs, protection, and guide them which way to follow. So God was with them. So we are going to look at the miracles, what God did in order to guide them, to protect them. So when we read the book of Exodus chapter 13, verse 17 to verse 22, Exodus chapter 13, verse 17 to 22. That's where we are going to center much this time. So first, we are going to look at the crossing of the Red Sea. It was a miracle. The first miracle, the crossing of the Red Sea. What happened? So when the Hebrews were on their way crossing the Red Sea, God guided them by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. So God guided the Hebrews from Egypt. He guided them during the day. They were looking at the pillar of cloud ahead of them, and by night they were also seeing the pillar of fire. The pillar of fire. So God guided them in that way. So when they reached the Red Sea, God told Moses to lift up his walking stick and to hold it out over the sea, and the water divided. So what happened was that when they reached the sea, the pillar of the cloud, it guided them towards the sea. Then there was no way. They complained about the way because the cloud was guiding them to the sea. Then God told them to say, or told Moses to say, you have the walking stick. Then that one you need to lift up that one towards the sea. Then that's what happened. He lifted the walking stick, his walking stick, towards the sea. Then it happened that the water divided the sea, or like the lake, just as it is with Lake Malawi. Then Lake Malawi dividing into two ways, leaving a space or leaving the way on the middle for the people to pass. So the Hebrews crossed the sea on the dry ground. So it was really a miracle whereby the Hebrews, they crossed on the sea on the dry ground. We have ever heard, I guess, about this miracle. So the Egyptian army followed them. So however, the army of the Pharaoh, they followed them, they pursued them, and they were following them again into the sea. So what happened was that when the army was in the middle of the sea, God told Moses to hold out his hand over the sea once more. So when the Israelites crossed they were on the other side. The army of the Pharaoh, they also followed. They also followed into the sea, following into the dry ground there, the divided water, this side water, this side water. Then they followed. So when they were in the middle of the sea, while the Israelites or the Hebrews have crossed, then God told Moses to say, right, now again, stretch your walking stick again to the sea. So that's what God instructed Moses. Then the water started flowing again. So what happened was that when Moses pointed again to the sea, then the water started coming back. And they started coming back, joining this side and this side. They started to join each other. The Egyptian army drowned. So what it meant was that the Egyptian army, they drowned in the Red Sea. So God protected the Hebrews from danger. So we see that here God protected the Hebrews from danger. They crossed on the dry ground. Instead of drowning, they did not drown. Another danger that they were protected from, it was the danger of the Egyptian army. So the Hebrews were led by Moses and Aaron from Egypt onto the promised land called Canaan. So we have to know that the Hebrews were led by Moses and Aaron from Egypt into the promised land, which was called Canaan. Canaan was the promised land that God promised Abraham, that I'll give you many seeds. Remember that one. We talked about that area in Standard 5. So it's the same thing. So they were led by Moses and Aaron.
Moses! Moses!
How will you save us? How will you save our people? Lord, tell me, Lord, your servant is listening to you.
Order my people to keep going.
Our Lord, where are you taking us?
To the promised land, Moses. The promised land.
And how will we reach it, my Lord? How will we do it?
When you get to the sea, lift your staff. The water will divide, and the children of Israel will be able to walk on the ground. The Egyptians will follow them. Then they'll know that I am the Lord.
We will attack them. We will push them towards the sea. They will have to surrender and return as our slaves if they don't want to drown. Let us go onwards! Quickly, move! Ha! Forward, forward! Run faster! I'll find you, you fiends! I'll get you and you will see!
The Hebrews, pursued by the Pharaoh and his troops, marched towards the sea, as Moses had told them. The vortex of clouds sent by God indicated the path to take. Suddenly, the vortex of clouds opened, and an angel of the Lord appeared to the astonished Hebrews.
Come on, the angel of the Lord is with us!
Trust in your Lord. Trust in your Lord.
All of a sudden, thick black clouds blocked the Pharaoh's path, causing chaos in the Egyptian ranks.
This is a miracle of those accursed magicians.
The Egyptian horses were afraid of the black clouds and panicked, dragging the knights over the edge of the cliff and into the sea. Moses and the elders on a high cliff watched the events. Moses said,
My Lord, I lifted your staff as you commanded me.
At these words, the sea began to rise and bubble, and a strong eastern wind blew too. Moses could see now the real power of the Lord's hand. The elders too watched astonished. Moses closed his eyes and prayed in his heart. Meanwhile, the sea rose and groaned like a wounded animal. The rough waves divided and rose as if a hand was moving them. It was the hand of the Lord that continued his work for the salvation of his people. It took all night for the waters to part perfectly, forming two huge transparent walls. But it happened. A miracle. Moses opened his eyes, witnessed the miracle, thanked the Lord, and said,
"In the name of the Lord, people of Israel, proceed towards the promised land, towards freedom in the name of the Almighty."
And the children of Israel rushed through the passage with its transparent walls. They were afraid that the roaring walls of water would drown them.
Forwards! May the Lord allow us to pass in time! Hurry! Hurry up!
Hurry up! Hurry up!
Hurry! Hurry up! Don't stop! We must be quick! Forward!
Faster! They're on our heels!
Oh! Look, Miriam! Look at the little fishes!
The Hebrews were frightened that the water of the sea would crash down upon them at any moment, and they worried too about the angry Pharaoh and his troops, so they ran through towards salvation, the end of the passage. When Moses and all the other Hebrews were out of danger, they watched from a high vantage point the approaching Pharaoh. Then they were struck dumb. The Pharaoh, followed by his troops, ran at full gallop, turning into the passage and its transparent walls. For the Egyptians, it was now their time of revenge. All the wagons ran at full speed, and the distance that separated them from their former Hebrew slaves grew ever shorter. Moses and the Hebrews watched their impending arrival. Moses watched calmly as the Egyptians drew ever closer. He seemed to be waiting. Moses stretched his hand over the sea, and as the morning came, the sea regained its power. The waters crashed down with a roar, engulfing the wagons, knights, and the rest of the Pharaoh's army that had entered the passage in pursuit of the Israelites. The Egyptians were powerless against the sea's fury and were swept to their deaths.
You cowards!
The waters of the sea swallowed the Pharaoh, and the Lord's wrath drowned every last Egyptian. Not one of them survived. That day, Israel saw the dead Egyptians floating in the sea, and the great power the Lord had used to destroy them. From that day, the people feared the Lord, yet trusted him and his servant Moses.
That's a nice one. Where do you get that from? Potato.
Would you like to sing? Come on, women, follow me. Today's a day for celebration. Come with me. Come on, follow me. La, la, la. I will sing unto Jehovah, for he is highly exalted. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. My strength and song is Jehovah, he is my salvation. This is my God, I will glorify him. My Father is God, I will extol him. Jehovah is a man of war, Jehovah is his name. The Pharaoh's chariots and his army he hath cast into the sea. His chosen captains also have drowned in the sea. La 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 la,
And the people of Israel celebrated with song and dances this, their first day of freedom.
guide them by thy strength unto thee, abode of thy holiness. The people heard it, they were afraid.
A bright new day rises for the Israelis. A peaceful and hopeful day. Peaceful because their Egyptian persecutor had been defeated finally. Hopeful because soon, very soon, the Hebrews would reach the land that the Lord had promised to them.
By the grace of the Lord, they are still stand, till thy people pass over Jehovah, till thy people pass over what thou hast purchased. Jehovah shall...
Another miracle that God did or performed, it was this miracle. Now the provision, or God's provision of manna, quails and water. God's provision of manna, quails and water. What was it? When the Hebrews had no food and water, they started complaining to Moses. So they complained to Moses when they ran out of food and water. So they were complaining, Moses, give us water, Moses, give us food, because they were in the wilderness. They were in the desert. In the desert, you know, you cannot find food, cannot find water. There's nothing that grows in the desert. Then they complained to Moses, why did you take us from Egypt to die here in the desert? So we see that they complained to Moses. So God heard their complaint and provided them with food and water. So we see God heard what they cried to Moses to say. They were crying about food, they were crying about water. So God heard about that. So the food was in the form of manna and quails. So God provided them with food in form of manna and quails. So manna were cake-like substances. They were like a cake, you know, a cake, a small, like a scone, some sort of a buns, but it was very sweet. So quails were a kind of birds. So quails were like birds, very, very, very small, but they had a lot of fats again, so they were good. So nowadays the things that nowadays are called zinziri, something like that. So some people, they do term those things now. So the quails were there as the food that they were given, and manna. So these kinds of food were collected just enough for a day without any more to keep for the following day. So this is what you have to take note again. So these kinds of food were collected just enough for a day without any more to keep for the following day. So what we are saying is God provided only for each day. For each day, they were He was providing them with manna, enough manna. They were falling from heaven, and the quails, they were also falling. They could just find them within their farm, within their camp. Within their camp there, they could find them in the morning. So they were enough for a day, not keeping for the following day. So they collected, the daily collection was done for 5 days. So the daily collection, so for 5 days they were collecting for each day, for each day, for each day. And on the 6th day, they were collecting the food for 2 days. So take note of that. They were taking for daily, like Monday, they could take only enough for Monday. If they keep that one tomorrow, it was rotten. So they were instructed to keep only for a day, to collect for a day, consume breakfast, lunch, supper. It's enough. Tomorrow, others will be coming like that, for 5 days. Day number 6, they were collecting for 2 days, for day number 6 and for day number 7. Why was it like that? It was because no collection was done on the 7th day, which was the Sabbath. So day number 7 was the Sabbath. So on day number 6, they were collecting for 2 days, for that day number 6 and day number 7. And day number 7, no manna was falling, no quails were falling. So we see that that was the plan of God. So the Sabbath was to be kept holy. So the Sabbath was to be kept holy. That is to say, nothing, no work to be done on the Sabbath day. So they were to keep the Sabbath day holy. So the Hebrews relied on these types of food for 40 years. So for 40 years, they were relying on these types of food, that is manna and the quails. They relied on the manna and the quails for 40 years. When the Hebrews complained about water, God told Moses to strike a rock with his staff. Again, later on, remember, we said that there was nothing in the wilderness. There was no water, no food, like that. So what happened was that when they complained about water, then God told Moses to say, "You are walking stick again. You need to strike a rock. There is a rock there. Command that rock, and it will bring out water." So water came out of the rock. So the water came out of the rock, and it happened that they were assisted in that way. So we have seen the miracles that happened in the desert. Now, here is an exercise. Before we go to the next work, we have to look at this exercise. So let us go through this exercise, do it, and try it very well, and try to answer these questions. Then later on, that's when you have to proceed to the next topic. Now, what will be the next topic that we'll be looking at? The next topic, we are going to look at Jesus' teachings through miracles. Jesus' teachings through miracles. And this one is unit 2. So in the unit 2, we are going to look at the miracles that Jesus performed. So it's another good unit that we are going to also talk about the miracles. So today we have looked at God's miracles in the desert. We have looked at the crossing of the Red Sea. That is, we have also looked at the manna and the quails that were provided to the people, and also the water that came out of the rock. Now, I'll leave you with this video. So follow this video again, and you will see it also summarizes everything that we have done today. So this is a small clip that you are also going to enjoy. Until next time, thank you so much.
For hundreds of years, God's people were in slavery to Pharaoh in Egypt. That is, until God sent Moses to set them free.
Thank you, Moses.
I just did what God asked me to.
Where are we going?
We are going to the promised land.
Where is this promised land?
I don't know. He will guide us.
And the Lord guided them through the day and the night.
So Moses, by God's command, led the people out of Egypt into the wilderness. And they grew anxious. That happens when they forget to trust God. And so, like so often happens, they started to do some complaining.
What kind of plan is this? No food, no water. Are you going to kill us? What's your plan? Yes, what is your plan? You always complain. Didn't God take care of you like a father? Hasn't He promised you a great land for your home? But we are hungry and thirsty. Can't you do anything? We are dying out here. If God provides you with water, will you stop complaining then? Yes, but there is no water around here.
So even though Moses was pretty angry at those complaining people, God had a plan. Moses was to take his staff and strike a rock, and water would come out of it. Let's watch.
What are you doing? See how God loves you. Water! Come on, everyone! Water!
Okay, so God gave them water, and of course it didn't take long, and there was more complaining. Now they were hungry. They couldn't trust God to give them the food that they thought they needed. Let's see what happens next with that manna.
Moses! Moses! What is it now? We could use some food, you know. Everyone is hungry. Lord, these people are driving me mad. I don't know what they want. I have heard the murmurings of Israel's children. Tomorrow morning, you will get food from heaven. Thank you, Lord.
And so the next morning, God kept the promise, and there was manna. It was kind of like crackers with honey. It was very good, and it came every day except for the Sabbath day. It was manna.
This is manna, the bread from the heavens. Take it, eat it. Once you're ready, then we will start marching.
Okay, kids, so now they've been given water, they've been given manna, and they're still complaining. Now they want some meat. So God supplies through Moses. They are given quail. It's a little bird. It kind of tastes like chicken. Let's watch. God provides.
They continued their journey in the desert, but people continued to question why they were led out of Egypt. They demanded more and more from Moses.
We are tired of manna. We want meat. You will get your meat.
And so, with all the things God had provided, manna, quail, and water, they continued their journey following Moses to the foot of Mount Sinai, where God would give them another wonderful gift, the 10 Commandments. But that's for another story and another time. And so ends our story of manna, quail, and water.